Ukraine's counteroffensive haven't had progress for the past 3 weeks. As I said before, they shouldn't have started this counteroffensive in the very beginning. Since the Ukrainians put out too much forces from the east and from the south, the Russians are pushing west every day. The Russians' 90th Scars tank division was found in battle near Pokrovsk. This is an important signal. The Russian summer offensive may start soon. In today's video, I will have a detailed analysis on Russia's summer offensive. Today's video covers information from June the 12th to June the 15th. In Kharkiv direction, Ukrainian 71st Jaeger Brigade is engaged in battlefield. They were fighting north of Avdiivka in April and May. They may have arrived in Kharkiv in early June. For the past 3 days, the 71st Jaeger Brigade was engaged near Luhansk and Chasiv Yar. But there's no change in the contact line. The Russians' 18th Guards Motor Rifle Division are defending these two towns. In Volchansk direction, for the past 3 days, the Ukrainian counteroffensive haven't made any progress, and the Russians start counteroffensive. They attack along this river line and recapture these two blocks. So this bridge was cut off again. Fortunately, the Ukrainians still have a few pontoon bridges. The Russians haven't bombed them yet, but the Ukrainians are facing encirclement soon. Either they need to expand the territory, or they will need to retreat soon. The first time the Ukrainians enter the North Volchansk is in May the 23rd. This is the third week of their counteroffensive. Now 82nd Airborne Brigade has been rotated out of the battle. The 36th Marine Brigade has taken their place. In the Luhansk front, the Russians had a small advancement. They captured this very small village near Svatovi. Here the active force is the 4th Guards Tank Division, belongs to the 1st Guards Tank Army. Now this army has been separated for two parts. The 4th Tank Division and the part of the 47th Division are in Luhansk front, and the 2nd Motor Rifle Division and part of 47th Division are in Kharkiv direction. In Kharkiv front, the Russians are using mainly Civil Operational Group, which is newly formed group and part of the 1st Tank Army. This is not Russia's main force. In Seversk, Russians made some advancement. The 106th Airborne Division attacked Rostovivka and captured the first line of the building. Here the Russians' main force is 106th Division and some former Luhansk brigades. Now they are pushing from the east and from the south and approaching Seversk. In Chasiv Yar direction, there were heavy battle every day. Ukrainians still hold part of Kalinina, and the Russians continue offensive in the Micro district. From June the 12th to June the 4th, there are reports showing Russians captured the whole Micro district, but the Ukrainians made counteroffensive as well. So now the Ukrainians still hold part of the Micro district, and they are holding this forest. There are around 150 Ukrainian soldiers east of the canal. Here the fighting continues every day. If the Russians captured either Kalinina or the Micro district, the other one will fall soon. We will see if the Russians will make some progress in the coming week. Here the Ukrainian Defense Force used to be the 42nd Brigade and 92nd Brigade. Now both of them are pulled out to Kharkiv for counteroffensive. Now the 41st and the 5th Assault Brigade are here. In Avdiivka direction, the Russians had a major success. On June the 12th, Russians captured Novopokrovsk. This village located in the central part of this direction. The Russians' 90th Tank Division captured this town. This division is one of the elite forces of Russia's army. They were the main force capturing Lysychansk. They were not in battle for the past month. In Netilovi direction, the Russians attacked north and captured this area along the river line. In Krasnohorivka direction, Russians restart the offensive and capture the eastern part of this town. There are 3 brigades operating here, the 5th, 110th and 114th Brigade. All 3 of them are former DPR forces. Now we can see the Ukrainians' next defense line is here, from the north to south. There is only one stronghold east of this line, which is Novoselivka Persia. It's likely the Russians will start attacking this town soon. But we can see Ukrainians' defense line is already breached from the north, which is Novoalexandrivka. If Russians successfully capture this town and expand the territory, the Russians can attack from east and from the north, so the Ukrainians' next defense line is already breached. It's very likely the Russians will not only push to west, they will push towards the T-504 road. The next town is Vostivzinka, which is the last village before T-504 road. This road is very busy. It's the main supply line from Pokrovsk to Chasiv Yar. If the Russians are able to cut this line, the supply would need to go from the north. So now we can have a prediction about Russia's summer offensive. There are 3 areas. The first is northern Kharkiv, the second is Chasiv Yar, and the third is Pokrovsk direction. The Kharkiv direction is only a diversion. Russians are not using their main force. The goal is to divert Ukrainian reserves. In Chasiv Yar direction, the Russians are using mainly airborne forces and Wagner soldiers. The Ukrainians will have to defend that area. But the main push will be Pokrovsk direction. There will be 3 targets. The first target is to reach this river line from Novo-Alexandrivka to Kalivka, and the second target is to cut the T-504 road, and the third target is pushing west, approaching Pokrovsk. In the summer offensive, the Russians don't have to capture this logistic hub. They only need to put it under artillery shells. This is the most important logistic hub for the whole Ukrainian army. If the Russians are able to push west and put this town under artillery range, then Ukrainians' whole logistic system will be broken. Now, for the whole Donbas line, all the weapons, ammunition, and supplies are gathered in Pokrovsk and then distributed to Chasiv Yar, Slavyansk, Kurahove, or Krasnohorivka. If the Russians are able to approach this town, the Ukrainians will have to restructure the whole logistic systems, which is very complicated. If the Russians captured, for example, Horodivka or Novo-Horodivka, the Ukrainians will start restructuring their logistic system, and the whole eastern front will be affected. Then in the winter offensive, the Russians will have a lot of choices. They can attack New York, Toretsk, or they can continue pushing west to capture Pokrovsk. But the Russians also need to be very careful, because they will have a very long flank. Ukrainians' General Sursky is very good at attacking flank. Summer is coming. It will not be an easy summer for the Ukrainians. We will see if they are able to defend the line. That's all for today. This is Jason Zhang from Shenzhen, China. Thank you for watching and see you next time.